Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Juni's Café, a series where we learn, share, and grow by putting our thoughts into the ether. I'm your host, Juni. If you like this video, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notification bell so you can be notified when I upload new content. Thank you so much to people who listen and leave comments. I really do appreciate you all. Today's episode is about white privilege, and this one is gonna be like really juicy. Sorry, like I'm giggling because it literally just happened, and I'm recording this right after everything just kind of blew up. And I wanted to record it while the feelings were fresh, and I was still feeling like this saltiness and like this kind of like, I would even say like upset, because I'm not like angry or anything. I'm just kind of like so done with white people who don't acknowledge like their white privilege, and like it's just, I'm done. I'm so done. Let me compose myself, right? Okay. So what happened? I'm gonna say there's four people that are currently involved. That are involved. There's me, Juni, right? Then there's person A, white girl. There's person B, like person of color, and then there's person C, who is also a person of color. Person B and person C are dating. They're two people of color, right? So person A, the white girl, she posts this thing on Facebook, right? And it's like, ooh, why should, I think it was like a thing about Trump or like politics. And one of her friends, I guess there's like a fifth person. Person D is another white girl. But this white girl is neurodivergent. This is relevant to the story. So this white girl A, of course, post this post on Facebook, talking about Trump or whatever. Not that she's pro-Trump. She's anti-Trump, and she asks why should Trump not be impeached right now and be removed from office. And white girl D, like the second white girl, the neurodivergent white girl, she posts a comment. She comments on the post, giving like some reasoning about like why it was. She basically comments as to all the good things that Trump has done, like towards the LGBT community and people of color and whatnot. No, of course that just is not true. Like I would love to see a source and read a source on that. So my friend commented, replied to the comment and was like, called her out on her bullshit in a not like agitated way, like in a normal way, a normal, like a, hey, that's not really true. But I wouldn't say it wasn't catty. It was, let me call you out on your bullshit in a way that you'll kind of understand, because it's not what really happened. And maybe to the second white girl, and maybe to both of the white girls, they may have perceived it like, oh no, we're being attacked. But that wasn't the case, right? The first white girl, the white girl that made the post, she messages my friend, my POC friend, and the both of them start talking about whatever. This is when it goes downhill pretty fast from here, because the white girl tells my friend, can you like be a little calm, or like take it easy, because she's a little behind. And my friend was like, oh, okay, well, like we'll catch her up. We'll get her that scoop. Get her up to date. And this white girl says, no, she's a little behind, like, developmentally, and like I did say, like, she was neurodivergent, and this is why it was relevant, because really no one, like, I guess it wasn't on, like, it was like, okay, we're calling out problematic behavior, and this white girl's like, oh, by the way, this girl is neurodivergent. I believe that she is on the autism spectrum. And it's neurodivergent, and she basically said, like, okay, I guess the vibe that I got was like, oh, by the way, she's autistic. Let's excuse any problematic or racist or homophobic comments that she may make, even though you can still these are still teachable moments. So my friend was like, okay, are you having these, did you also message your friend, or are you only messaging me, the person of color? And yes, you can make like an argument. It's like, oh, your friend brought up the race card, like that was so random and uncalled for. But you also have to understand, like, why did the white girl message my friend, the person of color, regarding being argumentative and being aggressive, when the actual conversation really wasn't that aggressive or argumentative to begin with? I think there's like this dynamic, or like this sort of like idea that, oh, people of color are gonna be aggressive, especially Hispanic and Black people. For other types of people of color, it's different kinds of stereotypes. The aggressiveness isn't all people of color, but in this scenario, that stereotype and that kind of microaggression, it applied. So, that was something. The white girl messaging my friend, that was like a microaggression. It was something that, like, it wasn't like, ooh, like a really problematic, harsh act of racism, but like, it was definitely like a subtle underlying microaggression that was there. And it's something that, if you're a person of color, you probably dealt with in some way, shape, or form, right? After my friend pulled out that race card, and like brought up the question, like, hey, are you asking only me? Are you talking to me, or are you talking to your white friend as well? This white girl, the first white girl A, right? Completely lost it. She, for some random reason, was like, oh, so you're pulling out the race card? You're pulling out the race card? I can't believe you would ever excuse me of being racist. I can't believe you're calling me racist. By the way, my friend not once called her racist. No one ever called her racist at any point. Just putting that out there. And so she sends this picture of her as a very white little child, and her ethnically ambiguous father, who we would later find out to be Hispanic, because she was adopted into a Hispanic household, which, great, completely understand, love that, congrats, being someone like, and that is something that I also like got into later, regarding like her being adopted, and like we talked about that, but it was just very random. And before my friend could reply, the white girl blocked them. So we were like, like, that was weird. So I was working. I think I was like on my break at work, and like I literally just got out of work, honestly. And I was on my break at work, and I get a notification from both my friend and the white girl. I'm calling my white girl and not my friend because I would like to be her friend again. I don't believe that we can be friends if she's after everything that literally just happened. She messaged me and asked me, why did your friend call me racist after I told her my friend does not use she her pronouns, my apologies, but the white girl did indeed use she her pronouns throughout most of the conversation that we were having, and I did call her out on that. But anyway, my this white girl, right, is like, why did they call me racist when I was trying to like defend my disabled friend, and it was like, okay, I was like, oh dang, like, my friend like is being ableist, if my friend's being ableist, I gotta like, call them out on it, like, cause I care about my friends, and I care about, like, I want them to be better, so obviously I'm gonna call out my friends, so I took her message seriously, because I take any sort of like any kind of comment like that or any type of interaction like that, I will take it seriously. I'm not gonna like just listen to like one side and just be like, okay, well, yeah, this person's problematic and that's it. Like, I want to like see what's really going on. So I also saw the message from my friend, and they also told me everything that was going on in their end. And then the white girl sends me screenshots of the chat that they had, and honestly, I don't know what she was expecting, because she sent me those screenshots, and I was like, what am I supposed to get from this besides the fact that you completely blew up out of nothing? So they continued to have this conversation, and it did continue to go downhill. So of course, at this point, this white girl messages my friend, and I don't really know exactly like what may have, like, if my friend messaged something to her before, but it's just pretty much like out of the blue. And even if it did, like, it wouldn't have excused this specific statement, which I'm going to read verbatim. It said, "Eat a gigantic, hairy, autistic penis because looking out for autistic people equals racism." And there's just a lot to unpack there. And I also do want to like just clarify that this series isn't like a let's spill the tea series or like a story time series, but it is kind of like a story time. It's about my life, and it's about what's going on, and it's about like issues like these. So this is why I wanted to talk about it. So my friend called them out on that. Like, my friend called her out on that comment. It was very problematic. And this white girl's like, you're the reason why quote unquote woke has a bad connotation, and honestly, there was just a lot, right? And my friend, rightfully so, was like, I'm not gonna try to waste my time trying to educate another white girl. And honestly, that's their right to do so. I should have done the same. So they message for whatever fucking reason, they message my friend's partner, which is the person C that I mentioned earlier, right? They message my friend's partner, and they begin like having like this argument, and she's like, I love you, but I can't support ableism. I cannot believe that you are the one that's calling us ableist. And specifically at this time it wasn't me, because I wasn't involved, because I was working, and I told her I'll get back to you once I get out of work. But she was calling them ableist, right? And keep in mind that she literally said, eat a gigantic hairy autistic penis. She said that word for word, right? And you know, of course, when we read that statement, we were all pretty upset, because why would you say that? And then, you know, she followed it up with like, I'm not understanding your comment about calling a penis autistic when it was very obviously satire in the context of the conversation. And I'm like, I hate when people use satire as an excuse to be problematic and to be a bad ally, because that's not what satire is. Like, it's really, really, really not. Ooh, girl, this is gonna be a long one. And she continues talking about, she keeps responding to my friend's partner. I say my friend's partner, but I want you to know that, like, they're also my friend, but in the context of this conversation, right? She also says, it's not about skin color, it's about being disabled. How is that so hard to grasp? And like, yeah, you know, sometimes it's not about skin color, it is about disability, you know, sometimes we have to talk about like specific things. But my friend brought up the race card in regarding politics and regarding Trump, because you can't really have a conversation about Trump without talking about race, without talking about the minorities that he's hurt, you know? And I think the question that my friend asked was valid. Are you asking me, are you only talking to me, the person of color, or are you also talking to the white girl? You know? And I think that was a valid question. It did not have to escalate this much. It was, sorry, I need to like breathe. I need to like breathe, girl. So, of course, okay, I continue to like, you know, keep my eye on things without like responding to her yet. She was still messaging my friend's partner, and she's like pulling out all these excuses about why she's not racist. And she's like, oh, yada yada yada, you know, I like, my family's Hispanic, you know, and I literally square up to cops for fun. And honestly, you know, if you're white and you want to square up to cops, you know, you get the privilege to do that, because guess what? You know, people of color can't do that. So congrats, you can square up to cops, you can fight cops, you can punch a cop, and nothing will happen to you. So congrats, you can get to do that for fun. Like, weird flex, right? And for whatever buck wild reason she thought this was a good idea to say, she says, the only type of man I'm attracted to is a black man. And I lost it. I really lost it at this point, because I really thought, you know, how much worse can it get? How much worse can, like, what, how deep can this white girl dig a hole for herself? And you know, like, it was pretty deep. It was honestly pretty deep. My friend's partner gave her a perfect like response that, you know, it was like, honestly, like, I don't have like the energy. I do hope you're able to learn and do well, you know, like, go, be with God, like that type of energy, like. And the whole like satire comment, which I was like done with, and the whole like black man comment, like I was just, I was just taken aback, like, and I'm pretty sure if anyone that's listening to this is listening, like, is, you'll be taken aback too. Like, it's not just me. Like, it was shocketh. So, this is where I come in, right? Because they send me the snap while I'm working, and I open it, and they tell me what everything's going on, and they send me the screenshots. I read the screenshots and I'm like, oh, you're not in the right. You're absolutely not in the right. And so I basically tell her, I have to get back to you on this one, honey, because I am working and I need to like take some time to like do this properly without making it seem like I'm attacking you. So, of course, the first thing that I called her out on was the pronouns that she was using for my friend. There was one thing that she respected was, oh, okay, well, thanks for like letting me know what their pronouns are. Let me just continue to be problematic on everything else, which, like, bare minimum activism, right? And I told her, I was like, hey, honestly, reading your screenshots, it didn't paint me a very good picture of you being an ally. It didn't really... the comments that you made came off as very ableist, and I even compared it to me. I told her, I was like, listen, I understand that you're uncomfortable being like talking about white privilege and like talking about your whiteness because you're someone that grew up in like within a like Latinx household since you were adopted. And I will never understand what being adopted is like, because I have the privilege that I was, that I wasn't ever part of the system, right? And I kind of like tried to explain it to her in a way that, like, I'm not trying to attack you, and I understand that our experiences are different, but you also have to understand that your experiences as a white person are different regardless of regardless of the fact that your family is Latinx, and you can still be Latinx in culture while still being white. There's like white Latin people. Like, I am light skinned, but like there's like straight up like Latinx people who don't have like any sort of like ethnic blood. They're just basically, they might as well be from Spain, and they exist and they're still valid and they're still Latinx, but they're white. And I sort of talked to her about my privileges, and I was like, hey, listen, I have certain privileges, and I know that talking about my privileges can make me feel uncomfortable, but like it's something that we need to talk about, and we need to sort of get past that, right? And we need to not dismiss other people because one of the things that she did was dismiss my friend's disabilities, because it was like, you wouldn't understand what it's like to have a disability, and like just automatically assumed that my friend didn't have any sort of disabilities, and like that they were neurotypical. And I was like, you don't know that, you don't have any idea whether someone is neurodivergent or not, like just because someone isn't within like doesn't have like ASD or Down syndrome or something that is visible and you can like it's easy to tell. Honestly, heck, even with even with autism spectrum disorder, you don't know whether someone has autism spectrum. Like, you don't know if someone is autistic. There are a lot of people who are autistic and you wouldn't tell. So the fact that like she automatically just like was like, oh, you wouldn't know because you're not disabled, or you don't have like any sort of like neurodivergent disorder, and like it was like, no, honey. Like, no, let's not just assume, right? We want to, like, be open and, like, learn. And I was like, I still care about you, and I know that you can do better. And this bitch, and I don't like using that word. Actually, I feel like when gays say it, it's like a compliment, but like in this case, she being a little, what's the term? Como que like, estaba como que pichando. I'm just gonna say it like that, and if you're Puerto Rican, you know what I'm trying to say. And she says, yeah, that's fine. I was gonna do it anyways, but I'm not about y'all's energy. I never understood what she meant. I was gonna do it anyways. Like, what were you gonna do anyways? I'm not about y'all's energy. So I was like, our energy? Can I ask what you mean by that? And she begins explaining about like how, she was adopted by a Hispanic household and raised by Hispanic people, and like they would whoop her and like physically hurt her if she did anything racist. And I really, it continued to like develop in a way that I was like, okay, I understand that my friend's response may have seemed like they were calling you racist, but the conversation was regarding Trump, and your post was about a political figure who has been known to be extremely racist. So race will always be a part of the conversation when talking about him, like on period. Punto y se acabó, like that's what I said, right? And I also said, like, I understand that I'll never understand what it's like to be an adoptive child. I don't know if that made sense, but I hope it made sense to her. But I was like, I'm willing to listen to you and understand that your experiences are valid. And she says, we begin like, trying to talk, and she was like, it literally had nothing to do with the color of their skin. And then this is obviously when I kind of like broke it down and was like, you have to understand that, like, for people of color, we're automatically seen as aggressive. So that like it's if you're asking them to, hey, don't be so aggressive, or like let's like tone it down, because that's how it seemed, so of course if they got a little defensive, that's fine, but you blew it out of proportion. Because did my friend get a little defensive and like bring out the race card? Yeah, like they brought out the race card, but they asked a valid question. It's like, hey, are you talking to this white person as well, or are you only talking to me? And I feel like what that kind of question, I feel like if someone had asked me that type of question, yeah, I would have been a little bit uncomfortable, but I would have answered honestly. And if I would have caught myself doing something that would have been problematic or enabled racism, I would have been like, damn, I'm really sorry that this interaction or that this thing that I did like made you feel uncomfortable, or like enabled like I'm sorry that I performed like a microaggression. Like I would have acknowledged that, like I would have owned up to it, and like I would have apologized for that type of behavior, like even if it wasn't like intentional, because I don't think that the initial interaction that this white girl did to calm down this aggressive like person of color, that's obviously not what she had in mind. Now at this point, obviously she's no longer talking to either my friend or my friend's partner, because she has blocked both of them. But her and I are still talking because her and I are the closest. I call her out on some of the comments, and I'm like, you I told her that she has a lot of growing to do, and she's like, yeah, I could have responded differently, but it's not solely my job to do the growing. And it was like, yeah, it's not solely your job, but we're already growing, and it's also not our job to explain to you that you're growing, right? I don't think if you're a person of color, I'm sure that or if you're like in any minority, I'm sure you're probably exhausted of having to explain someone who has a certain privilege, like why these type of comments are wrong, like it's exhausting, even like sometimes, when someone really does want to learn and like they're willing to listen, like, yeah, you'll educate them and like have a conversation with them. But even then, even with people who really want to learn and like they're actually excited to become better people, you don't always have the energy for that, and it's not our job. It's not our job to like tell every single person who wants to be #woke and like be the very best everything, And sometimes we find ourselves that we're in the mood to like talk about that kind of stuff and like teach about our experiences, and sometimes we're not, and in this case I for some reason was and my friend wasn't, and that's totally fine, right? So I continue to like respond to her saying that even if you're friends with someone, you can still have experiences that may be uncomfortable or may put your privilege out in daylight. And then I bring out an example about a time that my friend called me out of my privileges and said something that did make me uncomfortable, because I was like, oh, I have to acknowledge my privilege, that makes me uncomfortable. But I was like, I'm glad that they said that. I'm glad they called me out on it. And this is kind of like something that I find hilarious. Hilarious because of the way that she said it, not because of like what is being described. But she says, this white girl says, I've literally lost job offers for not being Hispanic and having a Hispanic last name. And I was like, girl, what? Like, don't get me wrong. Hispanic people do lose jobs for having Hispanic last names. And it's definitely a real issue. I know you're not telling me that you're oppressed because you suffer that one issue that Hispanic people suffer. Like, that is like a crumb. That is literally like a crumb of like the huge like ball of like issues and like problems that Hispanic people suffer from. And don't get me wrong, that's like a really significant crumb, right? It's an issue that is serious. You have like, if your name is like Pedro Vicente, like, oh, they might not hire you. But if your name was like Peter Vincent, oh, hey, that's a white man, But like the fact that she was like, also, her name is not that Hispanic sounding, like because the fact is that like, yeah, sure, her last name is kind of Hispanic sounding, but like her first name is very, very white. So I don't, I'm not saying that that hasn't happened to her, but but like it's I'm not saying that hasn't happened to her, but like she has a white name. She has a white girl name, and her last name is, out of all of the Hispanic last names that are out there, that one is like white passing. That's like a kind of like a white passing last name, right? And then at one point she says like, we're not seeing eye to eye, and I kind of hate when like white people say we're not seeing eye to eye, because it's like, let's just agree to disagree. And I was like, you know what, we're not seeing eye to eye, and I hope you're able to eventually understand why we're upset, because the fact is that when you reached out to my friend, that was probably the least upsetting thing about it all. The comments about the autistic dicks and the comments about being only attracted to black men are things you need to unlearn. I don't expect you to unlearn problematic thought behaviors overnight, but I know, or at least I hope you will. But you can't expect all minorities to take the time to calmly explain why they're upset and educate you on this like I am. Sometimes they'll be upset and irritated and tired of dealing with the same type of conversations with someone they don't even know is willing to learn. I can't really say anything else about this, but I do hope I've at least giving you something to think about, right? And this is basically like that type of message was basically like all the messages that I've been sending to her. I put thought into them, and she sends me this thing that completely irritated me, and that was like, you know what, I give up. She says, see, you're still being with that energy I don't allow in my life, so I'ma go. It's the way you're talking. I get that you're trying to do it in your sweet way, but it's really unbelievably condescending. We are at different points in outlet lives. She made a typo. It's okay, girl, you made a typo, and that's okay, but I'm not doing drama. Now, I love drama, I really do, but I swear to God, this is not a drama podcast. This is not about the drama. This is about freaking, I'm not gonna curse. This is about freaking white privilege and like the caucasity for white people to do stuff like this. So I said, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop the sweet act then, because I'm trying to believe in you, but you need to open your ears and listen when called out. And that was it. That's where everything left out. And we didn't really talk about anything else because she didn't respond, and I'm pretty sure she blocked all three of us. And that's it. We sort of realized that she wasn't willing to learn. She didn't want to listen. And if it had literally just been the fact that, if it had just been the weird comment about like, oh, she is behind, like developmentally, like if it had been just that, like, and that would have been pretty bad. And the fact that like the microaggression against my friend, like that was, like I feel like we could have possibly salvaged that, but like she just kept digging a hole for her. So it just got worse and worse and worse. So yeah, honestly, I knew this one was gonna be a long one, honestly, but like, oof. Oh, girl, honestly, I need to let this out. If you listen to this whole thing, let me know what you think on this. I am so excited to like hear your thoughts. And I hope you've been having a good day. I hope this day has been delicious for you, and I hope that listening to this problematic white girl may have given you something to think about, and you may have related to my experiences, or hopefully not. Hopefully you've never met a single white person that has done some incredibly Caucasian bullshit, all Anglo-Saxon like that. That's gonna be all for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this series, then like, comment, subscribe, and share. I really appreciate everyone that is listening to this. I hope you all have a very, very lovely day. And thank you so much. Bye bye.